Today, Liz and I are talking about perhaps one of the hardest things that some of us eventually have to face through the years is what happens when the tools that we have known and loved and relied on for perhaps several years stop working.
Welcome to Light for Life. If you are returning to our channel, thank you. We value and appreciate you. If you are new here, you are most welcome. I am Liz. I'm a Science of Mind practitioner and a teacher of various healing modalities applicable to all aspects of the self and this life.
And I am Lori. I am a holistic wellness researcher and educator. Welcome to Connections with Liz and Lori. They don't stop working because they were wrong or because they were fake or because they were based on a foundation of nothingness. They simply stop being effective because we have also grown. So our tools also need to grow. The tools that we used once were fantastic. The analogy that's coming to me right now is training wheels. Some of us, when we were children, had training wheels on our bicycle, and they were an effective tool to help us understand balance, right? When the training wheels come off, it's because we have learned balance and we can ride that bike without support. But eventually, things can fall back out of balance. And it doesn't mean we need to put the training wheels back on. It perhaps means that we need a new tool or a new modality or a new something that helps us recalibrate again. I personally know how uncomfortable it can be when the meditations feel empty, when prayer feels empty, when journaling just keeps recycling the same words over and over. It can be very, very frustrating. And in that process, we can end up feeling a little lost or feel like we've lost our way. And that in and of itself can be very disorienting while you're already disoriented because your balance is just off right now. So what I want to say is that this isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's yet another opportunity for expansion. It is a growth period. And if we can remember that in those moments when we might feel a little panicked at first, like, what's wrong with me? I don't know how to fix me with this one. I was there just a few short months ago. I was there. I don't know how to fix me with this one. And it was very daunting and it did feel very overwhelming. However, if you watched our last episode, I mentioned that love never dies. Love never goes anywhere. We are born from love. We experience love throughout our life. And when we are no longer in this body, we return to love. Love never changes, it never transforms, and it never goes anywhere, even when it feels like it is completely buried and we have no idea what box it's under. Love, for me, is the way through. And it is the way to rebalance and recalculate again.
Absolutely. That's what you said is so beautiful, hun. And what I particularly love is that things don't stop working because they were fake or because they were wrong, but because we have grown. That is so true. Our frequency increases. And so things that used to land and go straight to the heart and be so meaningful become like platitudes, like, man. And what do we do when it just doesn't land anymore? What do we do when it holds no meaning? And for me, that's one of the key aspects of going through loss and grieving, is that it literally is an invitation moment for us to find a new meaning. Because the greatest truth is nothing means anything in and of itself. Things only have the meaning that they have because we assign that meaning to them. And so when something no longer lands, when something feels empty, when something doesn't work anymore, we are being invited to find a new level of meaning. So whatever experiences might have meant to me before, whatever my identity might have meant to me before, whatever life might have meant to me before, an invitation is being extended for me to consider a new meaning, for me to add a new meaning. And then things that heretofore I hadn't considered will become meaningful to me in my process of finding that new meaning. And so if my life is no longer about finding meaning in a certain role, if that role has been removed, then what does life mean to me? So like with most things, if we start asking the right questions, we will eventually arrive at the right answer. But if we're not asking the right question, we can't get there. And so to understand any process of loss or any process of grieving or any process of growth as an exploration of meaning, to me is very helpful to coming up with the right questions. We can't just ask, why doesn't this land? We can't just ask, why isn't this working anymore? We've got to go not only deeper, but higher than that, to the place that says, what can I make this mean for myself personally now? Does that make sense?
It does make sense, but I'd like you to expand on it a little bit. I know that I have reached a place where it's all about the simple things, but I'm curious what the listener might be asking as you say that. How do we find new meaning? How do we find our next tools?
Well, for me, everything is just a choice. For me, it's about honestly examining the heart and asking my heart, what is it that I truly, deeply desire if I'm being profoundly honest with myself? What is it that I want? Because I can choose to make my meaning that thing, whatever it might be. So if what I truly want is just peace, that's what I want. And I'm honest enough with myself to admit that. That's all I want. I'm not ambitious anymore. I'm not driven anymore. I'm not goal orientated anymore. All I want, truly, is peace. Peaceful days, peace in my heart, peace in my relationships. I want peace. Then I get to choose to make peace my highest value. I get to choose to make what is meaningful to me anything that adds to my peace. It's a choice. So if the meaning of my life was what I'm able to give to others, what I'm able to do for others, how I'm able to care for others, and that is no longer an active presence in my life, that doesn't mean my life has now become meaningless or that I serve no purpose or have no value. It's just that my meaning and the meaning that I assign needs to shift. The tools that I find will serve that. So in other words, the tools that work for being a giver are very different to the tools that work when I'm valuing peace.
I was hoping you were going there. That's exactly what I was thinking you were kind of coming to, but I was hoping that you were going there, being really honest with the self and really asking yourself out of curiosity, not out of frustration, but out of curiosity. If you were a little more compassionate with yourself, and if you are willing enough to say, I don't know. But if you get curious enough to say, what do I really want? What do I really value? Because I think that's when wisdom is born, is out of curiosity, is we can grow so much wiser to ourselves, about ourselves, and obviously by extension, the rest of the world, when we can just allow ourselves that moment to pause and say, what do I really want here? Because I think through, all of these spiritual journeys or all of the growth that life offers us, we collect, right? In school, we collect information. In our employment, we collect information. We are in a very collective phase in life. And then life plops something in our lap that challenges us. And I think that's the point when we move from collecting all of this information to sorting through the information we've collected, and we get to pick what we truly value and what's really important to us and untangle some of the knots that might have gotten really messy with collecting all of the data and collecting all of the tools and collecting all of the supplements and collecting all of the modalities and collecting all of the workshops and the master classes. Who are we underneath what can sometimes become a messy knot? And what do we really value? What are we truly standing on that gives us strength? Is it peace? Is it love? Is it joy? Is it harmony? Is it all of those? And do we have enough of that in our lives right now at this moment? Or do we really want to focus our time and our attention and our energy on bringing more of that into our lives and putting more of that out into the world? So it isn't always about collecting. Sometimes we've got enough. Our cabinets are full, all of the drawers are full, the closets are full, all of the boxes are full. We've got enough now. Now we need to discern and decide what it is that makes us curious and what it is that we really do value.
Today's episode is brought to you by our partnership with the Root Brands. I am so excited to share with you about Root's unique range of nutraceutical formulas. They are 100% natural, organic, vegan, and free of all of the baddies. And in addition, they are sourced from the best locations worldwide, ethically sourced. They have been formulated by a 7 times PhD doctor in a laboratory under pharmaceutical conditions, and as such, they are patented. There's literally nothing else like these formulas available on the market. I absolutely love Roots formulations. Their range includes the best and actually effective detox formulas, which are even effective at removing heavy metals. So many detoxes available and commonly favored are actually counterproductive in terms of how they work. Whereas Roots formulas assist your body in its own natural healing processes and assist for those to work more effectively and gently, and also to restore wellness in the wake of detoxing. So do yourself a massive favor and visit the link on screen below or in the description box and have a look at the products on their website. Register an obligation-free account to be able to access all of the nerdy stuff, which includes all of the scientific results of tests and allegorical stories of people's success and restored wellness. Yes, and sometimes that can be a next to impossible task to undertake alone. Sometimes that level of clarity and untangling all of that, and even just sifting through everything we've collected, can be very, very difficult to do by ourselves. And that's where I think things like guided meditations are so helpful. And there's several reasons why for that. Because to come back to your bicycle training wheel analogy and the balance, when we are unbalanced or overwhelmed or highly emotional, it can be very, very difficult to connect with that deepest part of ourselves by ourselves. Just because we choose to now close our eyes and have a deep inner moment of introspection doesn't mean that we're going to actually connect. because there's just so much static and interference in the way. And if we've got a heavy emotional burden, even more so. So it becomes very, very difficult to actually just get into that quiet space where we can feel our own deepest hearts and connect with our higher wisdom. So a guided meditation that takes us on a journey to ourselves, metaphorically, someone holding our hand and walking with us down that path can be extremely, extremely valuable. And so if I can just take a minute to plug my own meditations, the reason why I think the meditations that I've developed are so helpful is because they literally do focus primarily on that energetic balance and actually first getting yourself into that balanced state in which greater clarity and more guidance can actually easily flow.
I'm glad that you brought that up because, as someone who has used your meditations, I love that you offer them in phases because we can't jump in the deep end right away if we don't know how to swim, right? So your three-part meditation series is such a beautiful progression from somebody who has never meditated before ever in the history of ever can gently be introduced in that phase one. They can be gently introduced to with you walking them through exactly how to do this, how to
Mm,
actually start to relax the body and how to actually start to relax the mind, or gently push the mind aside so we can stay just really present with your voice, with the music, with the moment, and
mm,
start to bring that heart rate down, start to bring that blood pressure down, start to really get into the
mm,
breath and cultivate a little bit of calm. And with a little bit
mm.
of practice, you can start feeling that quicker and quicker and quicker through the meditations. And then you can go to phase two.
Absolutely.
And then you can go to phase three. Do you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, there's actually originally there was a four-part series, Han, and I've actually done part number five recently as well.
Oh,
Um, but one of the things that was so wonderful for me is that I am very in the series, very gentle. I think you can attest to that. And I really do progress people in baby steps through how to do this. But by the time you get to the third or the fourth one, people underestimate just how powerful it is, what they are actually expanding into energetically. And a very good friend of mine actually got the series from me a couple of years ago. And she was like, I'd love your program. I'm just going to buy it. And I was like, all right, hun, go slow. I know you're an experienced meditator, but do the first one for at least 2 weeks before you go to number two. And she was like, no, she will. And she was great. But by the second month, she was already on number three. And she phoned me out the blue one day and she was like, what was that? Because as gentle and as calm and as wonderful as it is, the power that can be restored to you energetically can't be underestimated. And that is the part that I would love to share with people who are potentially finding themselves in a really vulnerable place. Don't underestimate the power that is available to you from your own balanced energy and how much that can shift psychically, mentally, emotionally, how much that can help you, how strong and truly empowered you can feel when you're standing in your own self, when you literally have that pillar at your core activated. It's really very, very powerful. And it's a wonderful tool, I think, when you're processing something as heavy as grief.
I agree. It's a wonderful tool. It is most certainly affordable. I've seen all kinds of meditations out there, and I've done a few of them. I've spent a whole lot more and got a whole lot less results. So, as not just as your friend, not just as your podcast co-host, but as a customer, I can attest to how beautifully gentle and affordable and effective. Like you said, when you practice the art of remembering yourself again and remembering your core and remembering your true essence again, it can change lives because you're not shrinking from yourself anymore. You're not hiding from yourself anymore, and you're gently opening that door to your true essence again, and you're bringing that out into the world, and magic can happen. It's really beautiful.
Absolutely, hun. It's like, throwing the curtains open and opening the windows first thing in the morning to beautiful sunlight. What is the meaning that can arrive? What is the you that moves into the future, into the next for yourself in your life? Who are you beyond this current pain, beyond this current challenge, beyond this current moment in life? Who are you going to emerge as? What are you choosing? What are you going to embody? Who are you going to become? What is possible for you? Because we dictate those limits.
Mhm.
We really do. And no matter how dark this current moment may be, to recognize that there is a road in the sunlight ahead. There really is. I think you said it in our previous episode, this too shall pass. Nothing is forever. To keep a part of our eye on that sunlight, to keep a part of our hearts attached to that possibility and that positivity, and know that we can get there. And things that might not be landing today, things that we might not find any meaning in anymore, there is a next for us. There is. There is something that someone will say or has said or has written or will mention that'll go straight to the heart, and you'll be able to go, yes, with all of you again. That vitality and that excitement about being alive does and can return. Just because we don't feel it every minute of every day when we're going through the darkness doesn't mean that it's disappeared. We just haven't connected to it recently. And we can. In any given moment, no matter how sad we may feel, no matter how heavy or how hard, we can connect to it again. Always.
Thank you for connecting with Light for Life. Please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you would like to work with one of us, you can find our contact information in the About section.
Please share your insights, your questions, and your comments with us. We value your feedback. And we really hope that we will see you for our next episode.
Until we connect again, we send you love and light.